And you know what? He spoke back to my heart. I do the same stuff all the time. You've just gotten used to it.
The Lord just spoke to me from Deuteronomy chapter 1 one day, where the children of Israel are traveling from Egypt all the way over to the promised land. And Moses is reminding them of what God has spoken to them along the journey. And I had the privilege of interviewing many great men and women of God just to ask them, how do you know when God is speaking to you? And I recorded their thoughts down. The common denominator was that the only way they really know for sure, 100% that they've correctly heard God, is after the fact.
There you have a motivational speaker called Priscilla Shirer. And there you have her on 2 different talk shows expressing the goodness of the Christian God. Now, if you listen to her and what she started out with, she's saying Jesus or God spoke to her through the book of Deuteronomy. I didn't understand what she meant at first until I looked on what does it mean to say God spoke to you. So what she's doing is taking scriptures and using it and then says that's God speaking to her through that book. Isn't that spookism? Because those are written texts by prophets over 3,000 years ago that the books were revealed to, where he said Moses would say God spoke to him and tell him to write these books. And now she's using it 3,500 plus years later to say that that's God speaking to her. But yet these are texts that was written for the people of Israel of that time, telling them about their plight in the wilderness. When they moved on to the era where she says that she interviewed prominent people of God and asked them how they knew that God spoke to them, they didn't know until after the fact.
There's a familiarity to the voice of God, to the life of a believer. So much so that there are times where I would have thought it was simply my desire, and I find out afterwards it was actually the voice of God.
I had the privilege of interviewing many great men and women of God just to ask them, how do you know when God is speaking to you? And I recorded their thoughts down. But there was a common denominator in everything that people were saying. Common denominator was that the only way they really know for sure, 100% that they've correctly heard God, is after the fact.
How does that make any sense? So in a present situation, God spoke to you, but you didn't know until sometime down the road, a different timeline. So the same way you can be sitting and you had a thought, you were thinking about something, about a decision that you were going to make, and then you made that decision and it turned out well. So it's like, okay, I got a new job, or I applied for a new job, moved to a different city. It worked out that I became a millionaire in a year. That's when I realized that was God telling me to apply for the job, and then I became successful because of that one move. How is that God speaking to you? And that's when you found out after you made the $1 million. That's spookism. And then she moved on and spoke about the enemy setting up warfares against you in the form of problems with your children, problems with your marriage, problems being single. So don't worry about those things. These are common things amongst people everywhere right now. I know one person who lost a daughter in a car accident in the state of Georgia. That young lady was 21 years old. Her other friends, 23, 21, 22, none of them were 24. They all died. 6 of them died in a car accident, coming from a party 6 a.m. in the morning. How is that an enemy attack? Those are problems you encounter every day with your children. You have a son at home, he doesn't want to work, he just wants to stay home and play a game, lock himself in the room, and not do anything with his life, just live. Because you're taking food home to him to feed him. You tried everything. You send him to school, you send him to a mentor, you try to get other people his age group who are doing well to just talk to him. Nothing changes. How is that an enemy attack? You tell me. How is that the devil attacking you? Okay, you have a husband. He doesn't come home. He says he has work. Every day you come to your job, you will say to your coworker, my husband didn't come home. Or you say, Paul didn't come home tonight. You know what he's doing. You know where he's going. How is that the devil being attacking you? These are common things. These are disciplinary problems. This is not the action of a devil. So what she's done, she's taken common problems, because on both interviews she spoke about being single, problems with your children, problems with your marriage. So she knows that she could relate to people on various levels, because everybody, everywhere you go, people have these problems with the same similar problems or similar encounters, going through similar experiences. Why? Because you're in a society that doesn't place value on family, value on proper morals and upbringing. What do you think will happen? You will always have problems. A lost soul husband. Even this very scriptures that she's quoting from says you should test that spirit if that spirit is of God, because that spirit that is telling you about an enemy, an invisible enemy, about your common problems, is not a spirit of God. She's just a motivational speaker, because the common things that you speak on is like, okay, be positive, don't give up, no matter what. Yes, your children may come around. That's something that naturally, if you have a conversation with somebody with a problem like that, that's the first advice you want to give them. I don't see how that is unique to God. You can do that. So what she's doing is just it's just a motivational speaker, but then they also want to be in the limelight, making money off people's ignorance and their own spookism. This is common.